Like you mentioned, the solo lane matchup is one I think that many fans should be keeping an eye on, because Kiki is one of those players that you can build a team around, a team composition around with what he can do wherever he's playing, because Kiki can play so many different roles in that solo lane. Don't be surprised if Gabe pull out some interesting strategies around whatever Kiki wants to play.
Which is why they're banning away such aggressive solo laners away against Benji.
Yeah.
Benji's been this player that stepped it up ever since Season 2. When he was on Enemy, they made it second place to Worlds.
Yep.
And the way they qualified through Super Regionals was just super impressive with his aggressive play.
Terra going to be the first pick there for In Memory of Gabe. Love that Circuit ban by eunited. Most of the time banned away, but sometimes you'll see it let through. Cannot afford to do so against Sinosure. Probably his most comfortable god, at least that we've seen during the spring split. eunited immediately going to take a Guardian of their own in that Khepri, and it's going to be Thoth in the mid lane for Chaos. Normally when one team locks away their Guardian, you're not going to see the other team immediately respond with one of their own, but Terra can flex pick, and so I like eunited saying, we're just going to take it no matter what.
That would be a lot of utility and control for a team to have both Terra and Khepri. Smart decision for eunited. They prioritize their Guardian right off the bat, but Memory of Gabe, they're locked into Susanoo, a very mobile jungle here for Sinosure. eunited on Verizil. He doesn't necessarily care about what jungler he has. He's been one of these players that can known to be played utility-based if he needs to, trying to support Chaos in that mid lane.
Very true. Love the Susanoo matchup into Thoth. Can follow him through that very, very long dash with the jet stream. Rom the pick there for Panda Cat. eunited gonna pick that before the ban phase. It's one of those characters that never seems to get picked in the top 3, but always gets banned away during the second ban phase, so eunited wanted to prioritize it early on. And eunited now looking more towards that solo lane. 4 warriors banned away in total now. Wukong and Vamana taken off the board by eunited.
Taking away the safe options against Kiki. Vamana and Wukong can easily clear those archers in the early laning phase safely under the tower. Could sacrifice a little bit of gold, but I'm expecting Benji here to pick up a relatively aggressive god. But Amaterasu, not the most aggressive in the early game, in the early laning phase, but once you transition into these team fights, that god is going to be super aggressive.
Erlong Shen, the other selection. So even with 5 warrior bans, you still see a couple warriors picked for that solo lane. And Keranos makes it all the way to the last pick here for In Memory of Gabe. That's going to be for Snoopy in that duo lane. Keranos, Terra, probably the most prioritized 2 characters in that duo lane right now. Fafnir, I suppose, more so than Terra, but he rarely gets to see play because of how heavily he is prioritized.
There's going to be a lot of control in that dual lane whenever that level 5 does hit the Wild Hunt with the Terra's Blessing. A lot of mobility in the side of Memory of Gabe. Also, Soul is having a lot of mobility with it to separate Susanoo with his passive Terra's Blessing going to amplify. But eunited's Benji playing this Amaterasu more than likely is going to augment that with a little bit of attack speed potentially. Maybe Shogun's Kusari and look for a lot of action.
Very well could, and it's going to be Bastet for Verizil. As you mentioned, Verizil is willing to play these gods that most other players are not. He can play many different play styles as well. Going back to one of his old favorites, the Bastet. Do you think, why do you think we see the Bastet with this particular composition, or is it more about what Gabe's composition wants to do?
I think it's more about trying to dive the backline and make Snoopy and Heroine have to kind of readjust their positioning against this Bastet. Bastet's one of these gods that can get in and out of action very quickly. Same thing goes with Sinosure playing the Susanoo, so it seems to me that Verizil is just trying to play fight fire with fire.
So we see Heroine actually the one using the Keranos, not Snoopy, and Snoopy's the one taking the Mage Soul into the duo lane. It's been a little bit before we've seen it's been a little bit since we've seen Soul in that duo lane. Has really been heavily prioritized in mid more than anything else. Why do you think that Gabe chose to put these characters where they did?
I think because Snoopy is going to be left alone for a large portion of this game once Ionic starts rotating around, and a Mage Hunter to be left alone in the dual lane is going to be getting a lot of levels, a lot of farm to get that important power spike and look for these high damage mage items.
Oracle's going to be secured most likely by eunited, but look at the positioning. Around the backside comes Sinosure, looking at PBM initially, but Heroine not on the same page. He's gone back to farming. The duo lane of In Memory of Gabe went down to their own purple buff. I think that was an opportunity for them to pinch out the duo lane from eunited, but instead Gabe more focused on the farm in the early stages.
And the opposite side of the map in the solo lane, we see different styles here as Benji elected to go for this Bombas mask, which is why he was able to clear his own blue buff very safely. This also results in allowing Virizial to ignore that side of the map rather, at every portion of the game. Focus on mid, focus on the dual lane, and Benji, who should be having a losing matchup here against this Erlang Shen because he went for Bombas and Secures Blue, is now in a comfortable little lead.
And as you mentioned, Benji's one of those solo laners that really likes the Hercules, the Bellona, the Osiris, those characters that can just hold W at you and make your life difficult, but he's always also seemed very comfortable on the Amaterasu, despite him not really fitting that same sort of style as Sinosure. Pokes his head in on the right-hand side and puts a little bit of damage into Benji.
A little bit of damage onto PandaCat with that Stellar Burst, trying to find some in-hands, but you're talking about Benji, how he likes to hold W with the Hercules and whatnot, but Amaterasu can still do the same thing, but it's just at a later portion of the game, and this matchup still going in the way of the poke battle for Kiki, but once this rotation from Virizial could spell a different story.
Virizial, the one spending some time in the solo lane now after Sinosure did one of his own. So both solo laners split a wave with their jungler. And I like the idea from Virizial to, the majority of the time, spend it with Chaos, because Thoth does so many things well, but early game pressure is not one of them, and Virizial can certainly help out in that department.
PBM pulling Ionic in a very awkward timing because the wave from Memory of Gabe is right around the corner, and PBM is already less than half health. He has the Sunder Relic, as does Ionic, so both of these supports not very resilient with Shell or Meditation, instead electing to try to look for that burst potential kill.
You know what's kind of messed up? Polar Bear Mike has spent so much time talking about Blink Sunder and how it's obviously the superior combination of relics.
He was
and
right.
Now that Sunder is like meta, he's not playing a character that he can pick Blink on. I mean, you could Blink Khepri, but should you?
Look at this. eunited 4-man grouping around the left-hand side. They really want a first blood against Snoopy or Ionic.
There's a Disapparate coming through and the Terra's Blessing. Snoopy's going to be out of danger. Ionic, most likely the same, though Virizial does a great job body blocking him perfectly up against that wall, but then he just leaves him. Snoopy's coming, and no one else from eunited was on the way.
They were so
Curious
afraid.
decision there from eunited to leave Ionic body blocked up against that wall.
They have a perfect body block against Ionic. Snoopy could have potentially made that rotation and cleared it with his Supernova, though, so maybe eunited didn't want to group up and allow Snoopy the opportunity to get off all that AoE damage against them.
Sure, but PandaCat has the snipes. I mean, he doesn't have to be next to Ionic to be doing damage in that scenario. Yes, Polar Bear Mike's not going to be doing any significant damage in that scenario, but I really feel like eunited dropped that first blood.
Maybe he didn't have enough mana. There's a lot of unknown factors. eunited could have been calling off the gank afterwards because they got the Terra's Blessing, they traded ulti for ulti, and that's going to alleviate a lot of pressure in the solo lane as well. Now Benji doesn't have to worry about Kiki getting that extra mobility, that extra CDR to be an absolute nuisance in that solo lane.
We also have the benefit of seeing the entire mini-map where, of course, eunited does not. If Herwind had just backed, then Chaos is probably saying that they can't afford to chase that for too long because someone was coming back from base. As you mentioned, there's a lot of factors that we can see that the players on eunited cannot, but from our perspective, hindsight's 2020, and that one could have been first blood for eunited. Regardless, Gabe escaped without giving up that first blood, and we're still zeros on the kill total right now, 5 minutes in. Neither team getting an advantage in the farm. Gabe a little bit in terms of XP, but the gold lead is nothing.
Nothing at all to write home about whatsoever. Just now hitting level 8, Sinosure still making some rotations around the solo side jungle. Virizial needs to find the right opportunity to look for a kill, but it doesn't seem that he's gotten his own speed buff there. Both of the speed buffs are off the table, and Virizial without a buff currently.
It's sitting about a level down from Sinosure right now. You can see that experience difference that I mentioned really materializing on the right side of the map more than anything else as Virizial ganks Kiki in this solo lane, trying to get that heal off, but I don't know if it's going to come out in time. It will not. Virizial with the first blood onto Kiki.
Takes 4 seconds to get that heal after the Erlang Shen ultimate. Great timing of a gank from Virizial, despite having a lot of damage over time with the Scratchies and the Bluestone Pendant from Benji. You're still looking at a huge burst potential once those ultimates have been committed, and it was still faster than the heal that can get off.
And, you know, you saw Kiki there go for the 72 transformations, get the shield from the turtle form, but you're not cleansed from slows in that form, and looked like he was trying to get out through quicksand, basically, just not moving at all. Benji did a good job of blocking off his escape path anyways with that dazzling offensive. Now it's Gabe's turn to try and find a pick in this jungle. Good grouping from them, but better play from eunited, knowing exactly what Gabe was planning, courtesy of that ward by the Gold Fury.
Now a little bit more resilient, though. Kiki shouldn't be getting ganked anytime soon now that he has that Mark of the Vanguard completed. That's going to negate a lot of damage from Verizial. Not to mention, he also has the Bluestone Pendant on the Bastet. So every single tick of damage dealt onto this Erlang Shen will be easily negated. He's going to absorb a lot of cooldowns, and he should have enough time to get the heal off next time, as long as Ionic has the Terrace Blessing, because it gives you 4 stones around you, and every single source of damage removes 1 stone. Once all 4 are removed, you get a little bit of a heal. So a lot of health options for Kiki.
Absolutely. That Terrace Blessing certainly going to help significantly up against Bastet. But the more I think about it, I was talking about it yesterday, I believe, when it comes to teams willing to experiment. It was Captain Twig, hold that thought actually, as Benji gets caught out, rooted in the Fire Elementals. Pidionic's doing a good job zoning, but a nice double stun coming out of Benji will keep him alive for the time being. Big ultimate there out of Chaos, knocks Heroin down very low. The Cat's not going to be able to clean it up. And in memory of Gabe, somehow escape, I don't know. Panda Cat not quite in range. Unfortunate there, all 5 ultimates used by eunited, and they came so close to knocking down Heroin, but good team peel on those Cats gets him out of danger.
But this time, Verizial finally securing his own speed buff. Still the same level now as Sinosure. You know, he was that 1 level behind earlier on in the game, so able to make a slight comeback, but a lot of trouble is Benji. His dash got intercepted.
And he's got no ultimate. Sinosure trusting that Kiki's gonna finish it off, but Sino's gonna get finished off, and Benji's still alive. Verizial shows up. Doesn't even worry about doing more damage to Kiki. He wants to do the mental damage. Stand there and taunt him, let him know that they just dropped an easy kill.
Kiki, though, he could look for a potential solo kill onto Benji, but it's going to be an obvious bait here. That's a lot of experience and gold now being received by Benji and Verizial. About a wave and a half here, so that's going to hurt Sinosure as the Bastet gets a little bit later, and a goddess like Bastet to start escalating like she is now on Verizial, it's going to be troublesome for a lot of those backline squishies coming out of the opposition.
As I was about to say earlier on, yesterday I talked about Captain Twig playing Naja and understanding that, you know, there are guys who want to play these different picks and using the items that are starting to become a little bit stronger and thinking outside the box. I think that the changes to Shifter Shield and to Runeforged Hammer becoming more meta, both of those are items that Bastet in particular can really take big advantage of. Both synergize well with what she wants to do in terms of jumping into the backline, putting out the damage, and then trying to survive after the pounce back. And then the Runeforged Hammer should be working with the Cats as well, so you're taking increased damage from Bastet whenever those Cats or the D-Claw is slowing you. So that I really think this Bastet could be a pick that becomes fairly strong with how these meta items are working out.
With the physical power being increased onto Shifter Shield, you're looking at a lot of gods to resurge in the meta that has a lot of scaling. Bastet has 100% scaling on a lot of her abilities, actually, not to mention, like you said, those kitties do a lot of damage base and scaling, so you're looking for these physical power items, whether it's Shifter Shield, whether it's Runeforged Hammer, even sometimes some players will even elect to take Bastet in the solo lane, look for the Transcendence, just to be even more of a problem in those later stages.
Sometimes even in the jungle, you'll see Bastets go for a 3rd item Transcendence, get some penetration online in the 2nd that allows them to carry them through that expensive 3rd item, just looking for that power spike. Though Transcendence really more of a, in my mind at least, a mana item that also happens to give quite a bit of damage, and so sometimes you don't really want to go for that in the jungle. But Bastet is a little bit mana hungry, and so could really benefit from that Transcendence. Polar Bear Mike finds the root, sets up Verizial for the D-Claw on the bottom left side. Harpies, BBM a little bit far forward, doesn't get hit by that root from Heroin though. It's gonna abduct back to safety. The Silver Branch bow here from Panda Cat, certainly gonna help out, but someone needs to help out Ionic as he's in trouble. Good ultimate out of Heroin, forces Panda Cat up into the sky as he puts 3 shots in the mid lane. Sinosure forced to retreat underneath the tower. A couple ultimates burned there by each side, but it's eunited up on top because they're the ones starting up this Gold Fury.
It's less than half health already, instantly getting melted. Kiki's right on the side, but it wasn't in time. Eunited walks away cleanly, and in memory of Gabe, they can't even find a chase because everybody from eunited is doing such a great job just playing together. They bullied memory of Gabe so far away from the Gold Fury that they just melted it. The kitty cats were even used by Verizial to absorb the initial initial hits from that Gold Fury.
Gabe wants to get something off of this. Portal Demon actually takes down the obelisk that was providing healing for in memory of Gabe. Typhoon and the Supernova are going to confirm it, but PBM helps his team find one. Verizio doesn't need any help to find a second. That's his third kill of the game. Gabe get the Gold Fury, or get it the Portal Demon, excuse me, but they lose 2 members in the process as Benji continues to play aggressive.
Stopping the back coming out of Snoopy allows Panic Cat to get that tier 1 tower. So even though 750 gold went in the way of eunited to respond, I'm sorry, in the memory of Gabe to respond to eunited's Gold Fury, they negate at least 250 gold of that by getting a tier 1 in the duo.
I mean, look at eunited's composition here, Toli. What do they do best? I mean, Bastet, probably her best aspect is the poke. Thoth, poke, and then burst damage with that ultimate when necessary. And that's exactly what happened to Gabe there on that bottom left side. They get poked out, all of them, incredibly low. And yes, they have a little bit of sustain from the Terra, but Terra's no raw, you know, it's not going to really boost your team up to full HP very, very quickly, especially if Ionic is leveling the 2, which most Terras are doing these days. It's going to take a little bit for that monolith healing to really become relevant.
And it seemed that memory of Gabe, they wanted to take advantage of all the ultimates that were down from eunited. I believe Verizio and Chaos were the ones to use their ultimates to secure that Gold Fury earlier on. So without those 2 ultimates, memory of Gabe felt very confident that they could go for this Portal Demon without too much contention. But on the flip side, though, they were still relatively low, like you said, from that earlier encounter.
United blanking Gabe through the first 13 minutes or so, up 4-0 in kills. Little bit under 3,000 gold lead for them, but that experience lead is a little bit closer to that 3,000 mark. You can see Chaos has got a level lead in that mid lane, and that's the big level difference. 12 to 11 means Chaos is going to have access to that second relic a little bit earlier than Heroine does.
Still looking for a little bit of action as United is going to clear out mid and reset. They don't want to force anything too soon yet after the Gold Fury and Portal Demon has already been taken. They have this 2.5-minute window where they can just quietly farm and look for these second relics like you said, and then keep looking for any opportunity, even avoiding these ganks from Cynosure. Cynosure hasn't been making an impact at all this game.
No, has not been able to do so. Should have been a kill on the Benji on the right-hand side once because of Cynosure's pressure, but Gabe was not able to clean it up. Look at what Benji has gone for in this build here, Toli. I assume he was sitting on that silver breastplate. Then that big engagement happened where eunited get a couple of kills. They get the Gold Fury. They invade some buffs after that. And all of a sudden, Benji's sitting on a bunch of gold and then just decides, I'm just going to outright buy Hide of the Urchin, which is a great decision in my mind because that item is so effective if you can get it early enough to start stacking it effectively. And Silver Breastplate's very, very gold efficient as a tier 2 item.
Exactly, like you said, it's efficient. It's similar to Mark of the Vanguard, just slightly more expensive, but more effective for the health and defenses. Not to mention, you also get the MP5 bonus, but United, they're grouped up as 5 in the mid lane looking for this tier 1 tower.
Sino already had to use the beads. Kiki around the back finds 2 with the taunt, but not enough as Verizio finds the kill on a Cynosure. Final Judgment not going to hit a home there. Heroine's able to escape. The Sunder comes through onto Ionic, but no pull follows up. PBM misses the charge onto Kiki. So the Scarab's Blessing is going to keep PBM up. In fact, res him underneath that tower, but Kiki's going to find the first kill of the game for Gabe in response, but he's probably going to pay for it here, Toli. Verizio with his 5th early on in this game, and eunited again just take advantage of the poke.
Support for Soul Laner any day of the week. I would take that trade if I'm Polar Bear Mike. And with that, they respond with a speed buff invade, slowly escalating their lead to over 4,000 gold. A great little demonstration from eunited thus far. The question is going to remain is how they're going to take this lead and translate it into the later stages, because Bastet is one of these goddesses that needs to keep being momentum based. But so far, there's nothing but momentum screaming out of Verizio because he has 5 kills out of the 6 from his team.
I like what you did there. Scream. And Verizio's old name was Scream. I thought that was pretty clever. I love the itemization choice from him as well, going for penetration right after the Shifter's Shield, really trying to make the most of that 70 power you're getting from Shifters whenever you're healthy in that. But you look at United's composition, as you mentioned, Verizio will likely start to fall off a little bit, though that's not going to happen as soon as you would expect because of such a lead that he has. As he puts some more damage into Cynosure. Chino's trying to take the 1v1 here. Gets Verizio, the knockup's good. Kiki's here with the pin, and Kiki's going to notch his second kill, both on the Gabe solo laner for the team. But Verizio, that's exactly what you don't want to do whenever you have a lead, is give up that big bounty to Kiki.
There's confidence, and then there's just overconfidence. Now Kiki, with that bounty, is going to be able to catch up to Benji that has so many defenses now, finishing off that Breastplate of Valor, 2 stacks on his Height of Urchin. And I'm expecting eunited, because Benji does have this 1 stacking item, to continue to look for more aggression. But it's actually in memory of Gabe starting up this Portal Demon.
And now Kiki tries to find the taunt, gonna hit it on a Benji, but he's very low. Benji's gonna get the kill, his first of the game, but that was all in the name of securing this Portal Demon for in memory of Gabe. When Verizio got picked on the right, eunited did do the Gold Fury on the left, so not all bad for the guys on the red side of the map, but still not a good look to lose their jungler. But he's back already. I believe that's Teleport as his second relic. Indeed it is. Ready back in the fight, and it's going to be eunited trying to siege up the mid lane.
It's not uncommon for Verizio to go Teleport. He's done this before in the past when he's played the Basta, or even when he's played the Thor from time to time back in Season 3. And this is going to help his ability to split push. If memory of Gabe is overcommitted on one side lane, we can easily see Verizio split push the opposite side of the map. And even though the Kitty Cats or other player deployables don't eliminate backdoor protection, just by tanking the tower alone, and you're looking at Basta getting into the later stage with a lot of penetration, with Titansbane probably the next item in mind for Verizio, those towers will still melt.
Without a doubt. I mean, just in the name of tanking up that tower, right? It's not about removing the protections necessarily, though that certainly was a big reason why Bastet could split push so effectively. Just having that big burst of HP tankiness, basically, to make sure that you aren't the one tanking those tower shots. You can stand under there and auto-attack away to your heart's content. As eunited up 7-2 right now, about 18 minutes in. Continue, their gold lead has grown slightly since the last time we checked in there, but still, in memory of Gabe, is now on the board in terms of kills and is catching up in terms of XP. Speed
buff, though, not wanting to be aggressed by eunited. They pulled it for a little bit, stole away the little ogres, but leaving the big one behind to memory of Gabe, allowing Sinosure to still stay very mobile throughout the map. Now hitting level 15, finishing off his own Jotun's Wrath, a different penetration item compared to Verizio that went for this Brawler's Beatstick for good measure, too, because even though he doesn't necessarily care about the cooldowns, which it's not a bad thing against Bast or for Bastet, but that anti-healing provided by this item is going to negate that 4th proc hit onto Ionic's Terra's Blessing.
And the heal coming out of Kiki, and just the outright monolith heal from Ionic, and the Radiance from Snoopy. So quite a bit there that Brawler is going to affect. Verizio on this left side. Pops that Wing Blade coming out of Kiki and is looking for the kill. Pounce not going to hit. He's going to get back into safety, but no safety there. Sidoshure's chasing him down. Purification Beast gets him out of the Typhoon, but can't get him away from Sido. Another kill onto the jungler for eunited as Benji cleans up the kill onto Kiki on the front side. Now Sino trying to get away from the further aggression. Panicat has the snipes, but Sinosure still healthy enough. Plus still has the Aegis Amulet. So 1-for-1, Verizio for Kiki. And in most games, you'd say jungler for solo is worth it for the team that lost their jungler, but in this instance, eunited's jungler is worth more farm than Kiki is.
I would agree with you there, but in this encounter, Verizio, he's a little too aggressive without the Aegis Amulet. It's so easy for Sinosure. Once that pounces down out of Verizio, that's a free kill for him every single opportunity. So needing to be a little bit more patient out of eunited's jungler.
Even whenever Verizio pounces in, Sinosure can just throw that jet stream on him and wait for Verizio to pounce back and then teleport to the jet stream. So a lot of counterplay available to Sinosure in this matchup.
Absolutely. Great pick in general. And this Bastet was actually last pick out of eunited, so I don't think they were necessarily worrying about the Susanoo versus Bastet matchup. I think it was more along the lines of playing something that Verizio has been known to play and look to be really distracting in a lot of these engagements. And thus far, he's been doing his job in being distracting. You know, he sacrificed his life around this blue buff here to allow his team to get that second gold fear of the game.
Love this Frenzy pickup from Ionic, that second relic slot. Gonna up the attack speed and outright damage of everyone that gets hit by it, but really effective with Soul and Kerdanos. Gabe don't know this is happening, Totally. This Fire Giant already very low. Final Judgment should be able to come through and secure this, and it does. eunited get the Fire Giant, and now they're trying to take the fight. Aegis, used by Sinosure, gets him out of the snipes, but not the dazzling offense. Benji with the 9th kill for eunited, and all 5 members with that fire. eunited clearly do not need Pain to try and sneak the objectives. That used to be Pain's calling card, but eunited has absorbed that even without their former support.
I actually asked last old enemy. Who makes these wacky Gold Fury calls? Who makes these wacky Fire Giant calls? And you know what the answer was? It was actually Virizio that makes these calls, but it's going to be Kiki making a call to the graveyard, taken out by Chaos.
I'm not sure he had a say in it there, totally. Benji eats the Scarab's Blessing from Polar Bear Mike just in case, but he's going to be able to heal back up pretty effectively thanks to that switch stance. eunited get another pick on that right-hand side, but Gabe forces them off that own right side Phoenix. So eunited instead going to head back. Portal Demon will be up very shortly. They can get that, spend the gold they've just earned for themselves after those 2 kills in the Fire Giant, and then start to knock down these remaining 2 towers.
Trying to hold back into this game. Memory of Gabe needs to figure out a way to stall this out, because things are going to start to look really dicey very quickly, because there's still a lot of towers remaining here. 3,000 gold worth of towers, which is why Memory of Gabe, they want to strip away as much gold from eunited as possible. They thought maybe that eunited backed and that they could sneak that Gold Fury, but unfortunately for Memory of Gabe, that was not the case.
Everyone from eunited there around that Gold Fury. Sino gets chased out a little bit farther by Benji. Now Benji in a little bit of trouble, but now he's trying to turn it around. Sino is going to have that dash away in time to get away from the stun. So Benji's going to be A-okay. In fact, he's baiting for Virizio, but smart play there by Kiki to not chase the enemy Soul Eater into the jungle. A lot of shifter shields. We were talking about how well it works on Bastet, but Kiki has one, Benji has one, Sino as well. Basically every physical damage dealer in the game, except for the Hunters, is gone for this.
I'm surprised there's no Void Shield for one of these Soul Laners. Not only would it help them out, but it would also help out their jungler trying to dive that back line as well. Dimi was one of these Soul Laners that used to go for the Void Shield and the Shifter Shield back in late Season 2, early Season 3, when that was helping out his ability to dive that back line with adapting, but it seems not to be the case here, as they're trying to focus more on the individual playstyle of their own god as opposed to the teammates.
Panda Cat's also gone for a semi-unique build here. Silver Branch Bow is just the magical equivalent of Ichabod, so that's why you see him go for that, because he was up against Snoopy in lane. But then that third item, Devo Gloves, totally. Normally that item is rushed, sometimes even before boots, but Panda Cat got that stacked pretty early on.
Panda Cat's one of these players that knows when he can and can't get away with. If he wants to play aggressive against you, given the opportunity to, he will. But at the same time, against the Soul that can remain relatively safe anyway, throws out the Stellar Burst to clear a wave, there's no real point to be looking for boxing opportunities, so you might as well be looking for those Devil Gloves in those late game team fights where Cynosure and Kiki's going to be diving you, and also maybe potentially afraid of the Height of Nemea line and Thorn possibility coming out of Kiki, so just preparing himself for that case.
Not a lot of HP in Kiki's build thus far. A good amount of protection between the Mark of the Vanguard and the Shifter Shield, but really Winged Blade, the only thing that's providing him a significant portion of HP, now working into that Cloak Tree. Could be a Spirit's Robe or a Mantle of Discord, but either one, neither is going to provide any just raw HP, and more than anything else, I think that's what's really hurt Kiki in this instance. Especially with how strong Sunder is. Everyone's saying that Sunder is very, very strong. The best thing against Sunder is more HP, right? Because you're losing your protections anyways, so you may as well build more, but we're not seeing a lot of Soul Laners go for that route.
I think the case is because he's trying to get a lot of help from the Terrace Blessing out of Ionic, also the Turtle health shield that he gets, not to mention his heal from his own ultimate, but he hasn't been getting off the heals that he really needs to. Cynosure getting picked off by a nice little play from Benji and Panda Cat's ultimate. Very difficult to survive against those two gods.
Now Kiki stunned by Chaos in that mid lane. The Terra's Blessing comes out, but it doesn't matter. Panda Cat with his first kill of the game. Whirlwind has tried to hold this left side Phoenix the entire time. 1v1 up against Virizio and did his job for the time being, but that mid Phoenix falls to the pressure from eunited. Left side Phoenix now gone. Only the right side remains. Chaos and Polar Bear Mike both have their ultimates, and those are two ultimates that make ending the game a lot easier.
The right side Phoenix gonna be aggressive on Wild Hunt, comes out into play. Whirlwind getting melted by Benji and Panda Cat. Only 2 members remain here for Memory of Gabe for another 9 seconds as Cynosure is about to revive. And eunited playing very safe. Fire Giant is about to fade away. Oh, I'm sorry, it has come back. Gold Fury is about to come back in a minute and a half. And this is the timing for them to grab their second Fire Giant of the game and close the first game of this set cleanly.
eunited with the new look. eunited with Polar Bear Mike there in the support role. United announced they were going to make a roster change pretty early after the Gauntlet LAN, but it was going to be dropping Vorizial and keeping Payne Divion. Bit of a change of heart for this roster, and right now can't really argue with the results, can you? 13-3 over in memory of Gabe, a very strong team during the spring split. Just not having the same success this time up against the United.
They haven't really made too many roster changes from Season 3 to 4. Marauder taking a break from SMITE, picking up Benchy back into the mix of things, and he's been playing really well with some of his former teammates, Chaos specifically, and these two players know what it takes to really get back into this game.
Look at this, Tolly. Panicat just wants a red buff, man. But he's got a whole gang to deal with. Cynosure the first one in, but Panda's gonna be able to roll away. Still trying to take the fight, get a delay up in the sky, waiting for some time. The rest of United is thinking about coming to help him, but not so sure. PBM is here trying to get that Scarab's Blessing, and he'll get it in time. It's a matter of if Gabe can chase him down. Wild Hunt from Hurlwind.
Great
but
read.
A beautiful route before it happens is gonna get
He's
Panicat
laughing.
out of danger.
He's laughing.
Because look at what the rest of United's doing, Tolly. Panicat's laughing because his team is ending the game. The Titan down below 50% HP. Panda's gonna find a kill out by that Gold Fury, but United find the victory in the end, 14-3.